Alright guys, welcome to Book It. It's our newest show here on the ESSR YouTube channel. Basically what's going to be happening here is an 8-man tournament to determine the first winner of the Booker T Rophy, which will be given to the person over the course of these matches who demonstrates the best ability to put together a match card for your enjoyment. It's a brand new show, but there's also your favourite shows you can check out on Eat, Sleep, Suplex Retweet. Go on to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Go and check out ESSR Central, which comes out every Thursday. That's our flagship show, and the ESSR feature show is out every Tuesday. We cover a number of topics, both historical and contemporary, over the course of the year. So go and check that one out. Go and check out Saturday Draft Live, East Meets West, all the other shows on that channel. And don't forget to check out Quiz Showdown, also on this channel. Quiz Showdown Goes Hollywood is already out there, but I won't spoil any results for you if you haven't seen it yet. Go and check that one out. But without further ado, we have our first match today, and I want to get our competitors in here. So, introducing first, he is the host of both Saturday Draft Live and East Meets West. At time of recording, he is an 11-time ESSR champion. He is a former Quiz Showdown champion. He is the Iron Man of ESSR. Please welcome Mr. Scott McLeod to the occasion here today to compete. Scott, how are you?
I'm very happy to be here, David. It's a very interesting concept you put before us, and I think I'm more than up to the challenge.
Ready to go. Obviously, Scott, you've competed in nearly every other environment the ESSR has to offer. What do you think is going to be different about today? Do you think it will play on your strengths, or are you a couple of things you're worried about?
Well, anybody who's listening to Saturday Draft Live has attested that we're very capable of talking out our arse, so I think that's a big strength when it comes to fantasy booking and all that. But a question I have for you, David, is that are we going to actually get a physical trophy this time, or is this going to be like Quiz Showdown where we're fighting over a metaphorical championship?
We will need to see, Scott. We will need to see what the budget is like. I'm not working on Ross McLeod's Roscoe credit card for a number of years now. Stephen Wilson is still to open that checkbook, so we'll see what happens. But, Scott, enough from us. I think it's time to meet your opponent. Introducing second, he is a long-time member of the Eat, Sleep, Suplex Retweet roster. He is the head of the Strak Edge Society. At time of recording, he is a former ESSR champion. So good, there's 3 S's in this one. I'll say it again. He is a former ESSR champion. He is one of the stars of the upcoming movie 10 Reasons Not to Make a Movie, directed by David Campbell. Please welcome the Savage, simply known as Strak. Strak, how's it going?
Not too bad. Yeah, actually, for go, I'm also Eat, Sleep, Suplex Retweet 365 champion as well.
Of course, a former 365 champion. How could I forget when there is history here? You pinned Mr. Scott McLeod for that trophy.
Well, don't fall asleep at a house party then.
You took advantage of me.
Strak, how are you feeling about today? Obviously, this is a completely different concept. You've competed in the debating chamber before, but this is slightly different. How do you feel about this one?
100% confident. I've been around a lot of bookers, obviously being a wrestler, so I've seen how cards are put together. I've seen how the mindset for putting a card together is done, so like advantage.
And I have to say, like, me and you have had discussions about putting together matches before, obviously, when we were filming the movie. So I know how your mind works. I know you have a mind for this sort of thing. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you have on offer today.
I mean, it's TNA 2007, so I mean, Ross, Scott, were you alive then? In 2007?
Yes, I was alive then. Pretty sure I've seen some of it. Was it on Bravo then? I'm pretty sure I've seen it on Bravo.
Yeah. It was here in the United Kingdom, and that's something we're going to get into that right now. The first match here, every match in the Book It tournament will be allowed to have 7 matches with up to 5 segments, up to 5 interviews, whether it be backstage, whether it be something else in the ring. but you're only allowed 3 special stipulation matches. What doesn't qualify as a special stipulation match is a one-on-one match, a tag team match, a triple threat, and a fatal four-way. But anything other than that is considered special stipulation. Today, Scott and Strak, you're competing in the TNA Showdown. Now, you must use the roster from 2007, and you must include a TNA title match, a TNA tag title match, an X Division title match, and a Knockouts title match. Strak, just before we get into the main show here, what is special about this era of TNA to you?
I mean, at this time, obviously WCW had been away for, 6 years, and ECW was away as well. This was something like kind of AEW is now. It was an alternative to WWE, and it was just, you'd such a mix talent. You had high flyers, you had power guys, you had a lot of different styles and a lot of different gimmicks. Whereas at the time, I think WWE in 2007 was quite stale. People disagree with me, but I think WWE back then was just meh.
Right. So it's something different, just an alternative, and there's a lot of people who are very fond of it for that. Scott, were you the same? Obviously, this would have been round about the time, I assume, that you were getting into wrestling proper, just round about this time. So were you attached to this era of TNA?
I wasn't really attached to it. I'd seen bits and pieces of it, and then obviously repeats of it a couple of years later, around about 2009, 2010 on Challenge. And obviously, as I started getting older and into more indie wrestling, I started looking back through like YouTube and all that, looking up more old TNA stuff. But I would agree, yeah. I think part of the appeal of TNA in this time was that WWE was in a real lull in the mid 2000s because they kind of got lazy at this time. So much so that I think some point around 2007, I took a break from watching WWE and didn't come back to like 2009.
Wow. Mental. And obviously, I want to add in, there's an extra wrinkle here because Strat, you hosted the X Division show on the ESSR feed, which turned out to be the show that Scott McLeod lost the title on his birthday. So maybe there's a level of hatred here. Maybe there's a level of Scott's like, this prick was part of it. I want to get him back. He asked the question.
I wasn't part of it. I just get told there's a cash in, and I was like, how are we doing this? And then I come up with a question.
Is it weird that even with that cash in, that's actually still one of my favourite episodes I've been a part of? It was a really good show.
You could tell that.
As was the takeover show up until the end of it.
The first cash in. It's a shame. 2 great shows for Scott. The memory's tarnished, but we do have a bit of heat today. But guys, we are going to book it right now. It's happening. I'm going to decide who's going first. I've got numbers 1 and 2 here. One of them corresponds to going first. One of them corresponds to going second. Scott, could you please pick numbers 1 or 2?
2.
Scott, you're going first. So I'm going to mute my mic. Strak is going to do the same thing. And you have up to 10 minutes to pitch your card for this TNA 2007 extravaganza. Scott McLeod, the floor is yours. And your time starts now.
Right. My card, my pay-per-view is called TNA Emergence. Big opening video package. You've got your usual like cliches, people standing in the rain, thunder and lightning going around, mixtures of high spots, people bleeding with their screams made audio tuned to sound like roars, with Barry Scott, the voiceover man, being so dramatic to tune you into what's going to happen. It's like if this, they have everything to lose. Opening shot, big pyro going off around the impact zone. We've got Mike Tenay and Don West screaming at the top of the lungs, excited for everything that's going to happen. Opening match is a 4-way X Division match. It is to determine the number 1 contender for the X Division Championship. It is Alex Shelley taking on Pete Williams, taking on Senshi, also known as Loki, taking on Black Machismo, Jay Lethal. The winner will get a title shot at the X Division champion at a time of their choosing. And it's a typical X Division opening match, a lot of spots. Immediately everyone tries to claim their trust, and then Alex Shelley tries to pull everyone down off the trust. Alex Shelley, everybody had to win singles matches in order to get here. Alex Shelley was pitted against Chris Sabin, who at this time they're just starting to form the Motorcycle Machine Guns. They're not technically the Machine Guns yet. Alex Shelley is the clear heel of this match. He's the one everyone doesn't want to win. At one point, he gets his head stuck in the truss. It looks like he's been taken out of the match. There's a brawl between Jay Lethal and Loki up on the top of the trust. Loki hits a stomp onto Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal comes up and he's going to unhook the big red X. Out comes Chris Sabin. He pulls Senshi off, hits him with a clothesline, helps Alex Shelley out of the trust. Alex Shelley climbs up. Alex Shelley unhooks the X. Alex Shelley is the number 1 contender for the X Division Championship at a time and place of his choosing. More on Alex Shelley later on. I know I'm working a bit fast, but I didn't actually practice this, so I don't know if I can get it all in 10 minutes. Next up, we have a tag team title match. We get a recap of the last month's pay-per-view where the champions Truth and Consequences, that's Consequences between Xavier Woods and Ron the Truth Killings, defeating LAX in a 3-way tag match. Also featured Team 3D at the last pay-per-view, and now LAX are here to get their rematch. Basically, the start of the match is basically that Truth and Consequences don't want to get Hernandez into the match. They want to keep him isolated. They don't want the big man running wild. But Consequences is a bit more inexperienced than Truth. He goes for a high spot. He misses, gives Homicide the opportunity to tag in Hernandez, and the big man runs wild, throwing Creed about. He gets isolated in LAX's corner. Conan's on the outside as the manager for LAX. He distracts the referee at one point. So when Creed does get the tag, the referee doesn't see it. The referee waves it off. Creed has to come back in and get beaten down some more. And then eventually manages to slide under Hernandez's legs, tag to Truth. Truth running wild. It looks like the champs are finally going to get things back in their way. They have Hernandez prone. They go for some double team move. Creed does the leap off the top. Out comes Hernandez from Homicide from out of nowhere. It's a cutter onto Creed. And then Hernandez picks up Truth. Border toss. Tag to Homicide. Green Go Killer, which is basically a vertebra breaker. 1, 2, 3. LAX regain the tag team titles. They celebrate on the ramp when Team 3D attack them, and they send a message that they're coming for the tag team titles, and they send the message loud and clear by putting Conan through the table. We have our first backstage promo with Jeremy Borash interviewing TNA World Champion Christian Cage, who is wanting to know his thoughts about the main event. He's so confident, and he also wants to talk about the special gauntlet match later on. Who's the third man in that match? But he brushes him off. Next up, we have a 3-way match for the Knockouts Championship. It is the champion Awesome Kong defending against Gail Kim and ODB. And basically the whole match is the two of them trying to gang up on Kong, but Kong is just unstoppable. Like, no matter what they do, she just seemingly can't go down. And eventually it seems like they do get her down. They get her through a table on the outside, and then they basically have brief rush between those two, basically trying to hit a big move on each other to pin them while Kong is down. ODB does get a really close to count with a TKO kick out. Gail Kim starts crawling up the ropes trying to get her bearings, and from out off camera, a big hand grabs her by the hair. Kong is back up, and Kong backhands Gail Kim, runs wild, and eventually picks up ODB for a second rope powerbomb. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Kong retains the Knockouts Championship in dominant fashion. Our next backstage segment, Samoa Joe is backstage warming up for his match. He's asked about the third man. He doesn't care. He's going to go through every has to get his shot at the TNA World Championship. Next week he comes out for his match. Now it is the 3 stages of cage match, which is basically a gauntlet match with Samoa Joe taking on 3 different opponents, all selected by Christian Cage, because Samoa Joe feels he's rightfully earned a shot at the TNA title, and basically Cage has put him through this challenge in order to get his title shot at some point in the future. His first opponent is one member of the Christian Coalition. It's Tomko, and Samoa Joe easily dispatches of Tomko with a choke after about 5 or 6 minutes, because no one wants to watch Tomko. They want to see Joe versus his second opponent, which is AJ Styles. Tomko does try and interfere by grabbing the leg of Joe, but the referee catches up, sends him to the back. And for the next 15 minutes or so, Joe and AJ have a typical X Division match, shades of their match at Unbreakable with Daniels like a couple of years earlier. Don West is going mental. His penis can only get so erect. AJ goes for what we know now as the phenomenal form. Joe catches him into a muscle buster. And now the mystery that everyone's been wondering for weeks now, who's the third man? It's Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett returns low blow, comes up from behind, hits the stroke, but Joe somehow manages to kick out, but he's weakened. The comedy mentioned that he's used all his energy against AJ. He's prone for Jeff Jarrett. The referee at one point accidentally gets knocked down, so Jarrett takes the opportunity, smashes a guitar over Joe's head. Joe doesn't go down. He gets cut. He sees the sight of his own blood. He goes mental. He to catch the clutch. Jeff Jarrett's fighting for everything he's got. He gets caught in the middle of the ring. Referee gets up to check on Jarrett, and Jarrett is out. Joe wins in the longest match on the card. I forgot to give the match names. I'll give them at the end. But that match went 28 minutes, and Joe is exhausted, but he's got what he wanted. He's got his title shot. Backstage, Sting is getting interviewed about the main event, but before he can get going, Eric Young comes up to him. He's scared about his upcoming match, which is up next, and Sting is basically firing him up. He said, "Come on, you can do it. You're showtime, Eric Young. You got this." And it's Eric Young taking on Abyss. Basically, the storyline here is Eric Young is terrified of Abyss, and Sting is encouraging him to face his fears, go head to head against the monster. And basically, Eric Young does his best. He tries to run away using James Mitchell as a shield. He gets a brief roll at the critical mental for the close 2 count, but everything he does just angers Abyss more. Abyss, in about 8 minutes, murders Eric Young, picks him up, chokes on him, nearly sends him through the ring, hits him with a black hole slam. James Mitchell says, "No, pick him up," hit him again. It's another black hole slam, and he pins Eric Young. The crowd are booing Abyss. Then he goes to get the thumbtacks to do some more damage, but thankfully Sting runs down to chase off Abyss and make the save, and held a pro and Eric Young to the back. While he's doing this, we get a promo package for our semi-main event. It is an X Division title match. It is the champion, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, taking on Jerry Lynn. Basically, the idea of like 2 pioneers of the style, the X Division. Jerry Lynn basically saying without the stuff he did with RVD and ECW, there would be no X Division. It's basically a fight about respect. They're both kind of working face, but then whenever Daniels feels like Lynn's getting the advantage, he kind of uses an underhanded tactic, going for a cheap shot, not getting a clean break, trying anything to get the advantage against Jerry Lynn, who this point still can go like he did back in ECW. At one point, it looks like he finally has it. Cradle powder, Lynn's crawling to the cover. We hear familiar music. It's Alex Shelley with his big red X familiar on. He says, "This match is now a triple threat." And because it's a triple threat, that means no DQ, which means in comes Chris Sabin, throws out Jerry Lynn, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin had a double team move onto Christopher Daniels. 1, 2, 3, new X Division champion, Alex Shelley. And he and Chris Sabin go and celebrate. And now the story going forward is Lynn and Daniels having to put their differences aside to take out these new young up-and-coming whippersnappers, futurely known as the Machine Guns. And now I think I've got like a minute left here. I really should have practiced timing this before I started. But we have a 4-way cage match for the TNA World Championship. We get a big promo package about this. It is the champion Christian Cage defending against Sting, Kurt Angle, and the Cowboy James Storm. In a match where it's elimination, you could be pinned by pinfall or submission into elimination, no escaping the cage. And Cage basically like, "I can do this. My name is Cage." And basically, Samoa Joe, there was a King of the Mountain match the month before where Cage won the title, and Joe hooked the belt up, but the referee was down and didn't see it. And then when the referee came to, Joe had been knocked off by Cage, and Cage was at the top of the ladder, so Joe feels he's the rightful champion. That's why he had his match earlier on. Angle was the former champion. Sting was also in that King of the Mountain match. That's why they're in here. And James Storm was used by Christian Cage in a tag match earlier, and a couple weeks earlier, and Storm pinned Angle. So Storm says that I deserve a title shot. It comes down to Sting versus Cage. AJ Styles sneaks a baseball bat in for Christian, who hits Sting when he goes to the Scorpion Deathlock. Unprettier. Cage manages to sneak away with the title. He's at the top of the cage celebrating, but then Samoa Joe comes out basically saying, "You and me, down the line, your days are numbered with that belt." Cut to black. Whew.
And if you can quickly give me the match time, Scott, just so everything's legal here.
Yeah, sorry, I have him here. Yeah, the X Division title match went 15 minutes, 32 seconds, 13 minutes, 7 seconds for the tag title match, 9 minutes, 54 seconds for the women's match, 20 minutes, 12 seconds for the gauntlet match, 8 minutes, 6 seconds for Abyss EY, so it's kind of a palate cleanser after that big long match, 12 minutes, 22 for the X Division title match, and the 4-way match got 17 minutes, 40 seconds, so all 3 of my special gimmick matches were the ones dedicated the most time to on this show.
That's you. You finished. It was good.
All
It was a minute and 5 over. Okay, which I do need to. I just need to take into the judgment, but very happy, very good card there, Scott, and very good descriptions of it. So
there are a few storyline points I
very
think I may have missed out, but I can happily answer them in the questions later on.
Yeah, definitely. But for now, we're going to move on from Scott and taking it over for us right now. Strak, it is over to you. The time is yours. You're on the clock as of now.
So I've basically wrote this down as a booker, so if it sounds robotic, it's just the way I'm used to being told I'm match scared. Basically, it's called TNA Burning Gold. The theme for the pay-per-view is Burning Gold by Inferium. You can find that on Spotify and iTunes. Commentary will have Don West and Mike Tenay. Kicking us off for the very start of the pay-per-view is going to be a grudge match between Rhino and Raven. This match has been allocated for 15 minutes. The end of the match will be basically Raven getting frustrated that he can't get Rhino down, goes for an illegal chair shot as he picks up the chair and lifts it. Rhino runs straight through him with a gore. 1, 2, 3. Rhino's your winner. Then we cut to a backstage promo, which will be Beer Money, Bobby Roode and James Storm, talking obviously about their upcoming match against the Motor City Machine Guns. We then cut to your entrance and the Motor City Machine Guns coming down to the ring. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. This match is allocated for 30 minutes, so obviously it's going to be against Beer Money, who've just done their promo. They come down. End of the match will be all 4 men will be in the ring. So, James Storm will super kick Sabin. Shelley hits a slice spread on Storm. Roode spinebusters to Shelley. Roode goes for the pin, but it's broken up by Sabin. Motor City Machine Guns double super kick Roode, who falls through the ring. At that point, James Storm rushes into the ring and unbeknownst runs straight into Thunder Express by Motor City Machine Guns. Machine Guns hit the finisher. Machine Guns, they are the tag team champions this match. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. That's the tag team titles. They will retain the title at this match. As soon as the match is finished, though, the Motor City Machine Guns are celebrating. Team 3D will attack and challenge for the titles at the next pay-per-view. Next match after that will be the X Division title match. It's going to be a 10-man elimination X Division match. Your participants are going to be Samoa Joe, Kaz, Austin Aries, Jay Lethal, Petey Williams, Shark Boy, Loki, Jerry Lynn, Sanjay Dutt, and your champion Christopher Daniels. The match duration is set for 35 minutes. The final 2 will be Samoa Joe and Loki. Finishing the match will be Loki Warrior Stomps Christopher Daniels after Christopher Daniels hits the Angel Wings on Jay Lethal. Loki will hit the Warrior Stomp on the back of Christopher Daniels, roll him over, get the 3 count. Mike Tenay then will announce and scream, "We will have a new champion." So your final 2 are Loki and Joe, who face off, start delivering heavy shots to each other. So they'll go trade for trade. Loki will get a shot in that staggers Joe. Loki will go off the ropes, hit his air twist, rolling in Seguri. Joe will catch him mid-air, bring him down with a rear naked choke. Loki will refuse to tap, and Joe will choke Loki unconscious, and Joe will win the X Division title. Your next match will be a 6-man tag team match. The team that wins will individually be guaranteed a TNA World Heavyweight title shot. So in Team 1, you've got Christian Cage, Booker T and Matt Morgan. In Team 2, you've got Kevin Nash, Scott Hall and Scott Steiner. The duration of this match is going to be 25 minutes. The ending of this for time, I've not really done a complete ending yet, but the winning team will be Cage. So Cage, Booker T and Matt Morgan, they will have title shots at whoever wins tonight in the main event. The next match after that is going to be the Knockouts title, which will be Gail Kim, the champion, versus Velvet Sky with Angelina Love. The match duration is to be 20 minutes. The end will be Angelina Love sprays hairspray in Gail Kim's face as Velvet Sky fakes injury. Gail blinded will turn into Velvet Sky, and Velvet Sky will hit Gail's aim finisher, the Eat Defeat on her, and Velvet Sky will be the new champion. The next match after that we will have is a Full Metal Mayhem, which is going to be Sting versus Abyss. Duration of this match is 25 minutes because I would hope it would be quite brutal, but you don't want to put 2 guys through too much. You don't want to risk injury where you get hit with a chair or taking a really bad bump, so that's why I've just left it 25 minutes. It could go longer, but you just don't want to risk either guy getting severely injured. The winner will be Sting by Scorpion Death Drop onto thumbtacks. As the match finishes, we cut backstage. Awesome Kong appears and says she is challenging Velvet Sky for the Knockouts title, and says, well, what you done tonight, Karma is a bitch. Bump on the new, or name in WWE, obviously. Right, so I think I'm doing alright for time. Right, so I left a bit more time for this because the world title is a match in my design, and I've called it an undisputed match. And it will be the TNA World Heavyweight title. It will be the challenger, AJ Styles, versus the champion, Kurt Angle. In the undisputed match, the rule is 3 wins must be scored during the match via the first one, you need to win by submission. The second pinfall, you need to win by pinfall. Third win needs to come by your opponent cannot answer a 10 count. This match has been gave 35 to 40 minutes because obviously there's going to be each guy going back and forth. There's going to be obviously pin attempts. There's going to be stuff like that. So ending is basically going to be Kurt Angle has 2 wins. So he has his submission win and his pinfall win. AJ only has a submission win. Angle sets up AJ at the top of the entrance ramp for an angle slam off the ramp. AJ reverses it into a Styles clash, puts Angle through a production table. AJ slumps over Angle, motionless. He gets the 3. He gets the 3. So that's 2 apiece. With the ref starting the count, Kurt Angle's the first to get to his feet, and he gets up for half the count and collapses. AJ gets up, holds onto the ramp, and gets the 10 count. So AJ has won the match by being the last man. Well, the man not answering the 10 count. So your winner is AJ Styles and new TNA champion.
Very good, very good. I love both cards. Strak, you did come under there. So need to take that into account as well. Don't want to go over, don't want to go under, but round about the same for both of you. I love both cards. I just want to say I love both the names. TNA Emergence from Scott is a very good one, and TNA Burning Gold from Strak is also a great name and a good bit of promotion as well. So you've got to love that element of it. I'm going to give you just a couple of same question to both of you, Scott. What do you feel the strength of your card over Strak's is? What areas would you point to for that?
First of all, I say Emergence is also actually the name of a special impacted recently, but I thought it'd be a great pay-per-view name. I think the strength of my card is I looked at the times after I put them together, and combined it would be with the backstage times, I think run about just approaching just 2 hours, if not just over 2 hours, which is run about just less than the average length of most, like especially the early NXT takeovers. So I think with the 7 matches, I think again it's short enough that it's not a slog to sit through, and it's enough, like got enough action packed into enough star power. And I think with my difference between some of my multi-man matches is I don't think I have more than 4 or so people in a match, whereas you had like a match with like 10 people in it, or then you had about like 6 matches with different teams going against each other. So I think we both like had a lot of people on work hard, which Senior like to do at that time. I do think Strak may have packed a few too many into kind of his card, I think.
Interested, Strak, what's your response to what Scott's saying there?
So the reason why I gave a 10 man is because X Division, you've always got things like the World Super Cup and things like that. You've always got a lot of guys competing, especially like the Ultimate X. You've got like sometimes 6 guys, 8 guys. It's just trying to get everybody a spot in the card, because you'll always have. We do it all the time with takeovers. You look at it and you go, how's he missing half the card? How's he missing half the card? So it's just giving each guy their spot. If they want to up their game and stand out, then they can do, and they might get booked in for future ones. As I say, the X Division match is very X Division style. That's why I done it that way. The 6-man tag, fair enough, there is 6 bodies in that, but then at the same time, you know, when it finishes, AJ is going to go against Christian Cage, Booker T, Matt Morgan. So you kind of know it's kind of prepping you for the next pay-per-view. Yeah. It's kind of leading you want to go, well, what's going to happen next? No, I don't think I really did, actually, because thinking about a tag team match, Motorcycle Machine Guns against Beer Money, Rhino versus Raven was the singles.
Knockouts was single, Sting versus Abyss was single. So
couple of
singles. It was just because obviously you do big matches because you want to have a lot of guys. As I say, you want to utilise talent. You don't want to pine somebody and they're sitting in the back burner.
I get what you mean. I really liked both shows that you guys put together here. There's a lot of similarities between them. Both of you had really good tag team title matches that utilised two very good tag teams. And both
both picked 3D to jump from after the match.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Picked Abyss versus Sting.
We both had Christopher Daniels as our X Division champion as well.
Yeah, I was going to criticise you both for not using Team 3D in a match, I thought, but then both of you did it, so I was like, equal playing field there. You know what I mean? And both of you, what was the other thing I was going to say? Both of you made really good use of the machine guns. In your show, there was a prominent focus on both of them, more so for Scott with the Alex Shelley's dominance of the card, but both of you really used them. I have three key areas I want to make my decision here, the first of which concerns Sting. Mm-hmm. I'll come to you, Scott, first on that. You have Abyss versus Eric Young. Strak had Abyss versus Sting in a Full Metal Mayhem match. Mm-hmm. Why is yours better than Strak's?
I think mine's is better because it's utilising Eric Young, and I think it's kind of a reference to the fact in 07 there was a feud between Sting and Eric Young, and part of this is part of the thing I didn't get to mention is that part of the story is that after a loss to Sting, Eric Young was randomly attacked by Abyss, and Eric Young has been having like nightmares about Abyss, and so the story is basically Sting trying to like show that Abyss isn't as scary as everyone makes him out to be, so he tries to encourage Eric Young to face his fear. So I think it's using Sting to big up Eric Young, who at the time was a very much a fan favourite character in this time when he was like the plucky face, like scared of his own pyro and everything like that. And so I think Eric Young is such a relatable character. So I think, like, yes, Sting was in the main event later on, but I think at the same time I'm using him to help try and elevate Eric Young, who then gets beaten up by Abyss, but that helps gain more sympathy for him in the process.
Strak, what about you? Why would you say your use of Sting in this programme with Abyss was maybe better than Scott?
I mean, I wouldn't. Eric Young, I know you're saying he's not scary as people make out, but he's Abyss, the monster. You don't want to make him out to be, he's not scary as people make out, because then everybody will have a pop at him, then Shark Boy has a pop at Abyss, and you lose that edge of Abyss being the monster, because it's like when you tag Kane with the Hurricane, the kind of smooth the edges after there, Scott, and I can see the hurt in your eyes when I said that.
I think that's the thing they do with monsters. Like Sting was trying to get through Abyss. Like I think at the time, Abyss was like he was trying to get through to Abyss to show that he's not a real monster. He's really just under the control of James Mitchell. So I'm blending a bit of like what happened in real life with what I'm going for in my story.
See, I would have built if I was going to go into, if I'd obviously knew I had more time, I'd have built the match as Abyss versus Sting. Abyss would have been almost jealous of Sting because he says people are afraid of you. If people have Sting have took on, they've always been afraid of Sting. So Abyss is the kind that don't fear him, fear me. And then they would basically, that's why the Full Metal Mayhem, to see who can be the most brutal, who is the person to be feared.
And I like that. Strak, the question I'd have for you is, we have our two knockouts title matches on the card. Yours pits Gail Kim's versus Velvet Sky. Scott's pits Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong versus ODB. Why did you go for what you did when you had nothing against Velvet Sky, but perhaps better workers and more recognisable names on the roster than her?
Because at that time in 2007, the beautiful people, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love and Madison Rain, they were mega heels. Everybody hated them. Yeah. So if you had something like Gail Kim, who everybody loves, if you think of the women's division in TNA, you think of Gail Kim. She was basically one of the founding pillars for that. So you've got somebody who you love as champion, somebody who you respect as champion, and then you've got these two pretty bimbos coming in, and you're like, nah, they're never taking this. And then obviously they cheat. Velvet Sky wins it. It kind of built a crowd. Just you'd be raging the fact that it's happened. It's like when Jericho was here and he won the Undisputed title. People were raging because he beat The Rock, Austin, and Hankel. If that night you're like, no way, Jericho's not winning this, no chance. So it's kind of like a thing like, no way, no.
Right. Scott, what's your response? Why is your Knockouts title match better than what Strak's presented? And the Strak's defended his pretty well there, to be fair.
Well, when you look at it, the rules here were like 2007. Yes, we had Angelina Love and Velvet Sky in 2007, but I don't think they were the beautiful people that people remember just yet in 2007. That wouldn't come. The version that Strak did, I think, wouldn't come for a couple of years after like 2008, 2009. Whereas in 2007, you had Gail Kim, you had Awesome Kong, and then shortly around at the time they crowned the champion, the first ever Knockouts champion. You brought in ODB. So my match was basically like I can only have I've only got really room for one women's match on the show, like the Knockouts style match. I want the three best wrestlers on the card at that time, because you had these three, I think, above pretty much everyone else at that time, because either they had some training but weren't ready, or weren't brought in to be kind of wrestlers. You had like Miss Brooks, who was basically brought in to be a valet. Jacqueline was a good wrestler, but again was mainly using that valet role. So mine is basically it's three best women's wrestlers that they had at the time, and also Kong being the champion, establishing her as the killer. That even these two talented women, their combined efforts can't keep her down for long.
Boys, I need to be honest with where I'm at right now. It's extremely tight. I'm glad this is the first one, because you're both put together. Like I said, tag team matches, both of them, the tag team title matches, solid. You both had Samoa Joe being presented as a monster, which I thought was genius from both of you. X Division, that plays into it, solid again. I'll put Scott ahead because of what we discussed. I put Strak ahead because of Sting versus Abyss Full Metal Mayhem. Sounded better to me than Abyss versus Eric Young, which felt like a weak point in Scott's card. In return, I thought Strak defended it very well, the Gale versus Velvet Sky match. The argument there was solid, but I think Scott's retort returned me back to putting him on a level playing field with the three best workers. And I get what you're saying about the heel heat for the beautiful people. Probably would have put Angelina Love in there ahead of Velvet Sky as well. So I'd put you, again, level playing field, so tight. It comes down to the main event. And I can be swayed either way here. So these are important, guys. All right. I'll come to Scott first. Scott, what puts your main event four-way steel cage match, Christian Cage the champion versus Kurt Angle versus Sting versus Cowboy James Storm, ahead of Strak's undisputed match?
Because this is a thing I was trying to do with the majority of my card, in that a mix between established guys, like guys who come to TNA from either WCW or WWE, plus the guys that were technically TNA originals. I wanted to get a good blend of them. So you had Cage, who had proven himself as a main eventer that WWE didn't see him as. You had Sting and Angle, multiple-time world champions. And then I put James Storm in there, a TNA original, a guy who hadn't had much shot at the world title. So I put him in there to kind of the X factor to it. The cage match stipulation that I didn't have them escape, because I never understood the idea of like you're trapped, you're the heel stuck in this cage match, which you can win by escaping. So I took that element away from it, and again, you have Christian Cage joking, "Oh, my name is Cage, I should be able to win this." But the whole stipulation is surely the odds are too great against this heel champion. Surely he can't escape this time. And then eventually, just at the last second, he gets help from AJ, who puts, as I said, the bat through a small gap in the cage and manages to sneak away. And at first you're like, oh god, that's a sour note to end the pay-per-view on. But then you remember Samoa Joe is now the number one contender. He overcame this challenge earlier on. So now you think maybe not tonight, but eventually Joe is going to kill Christian. And basically, the main reason I had Joe go through the match that he did to get the title shot is because also in 2007 Joe's no longer undefeated, and as we know, it's hard for certain unstoppable undefeated wrestlers to regain that aura that they had once they've been beaten. So everything has been thrown at Joe in that match, and he overcame all of it. So a lot of that is about reminding people that he may not be undefeated, but you don't fuck with Samoa Joe.
Strak, strong words from Scott. Comes down to you. Why is the undisputed match above the four-way steel cage?
Because, it's something fresh. Multiple man cage matches have been done. James Storm in a main event match then wouldn't have been believable. And so you'd be like, it's technically a triple threat match. You would just have no faith in it. The Undisputed match is something fresh, it's something new, because it can go like a drag race essentially. It's going to go up one gear and somebody can level it, or it can be a clean flush. It's each man has got their submission, each man has got their pin, and then it's just basically down to the last man who has got the balls to just keep standing, who's the man that's if you want it bad enough, no matter how badly you're hurt, you're going to stay standing. And it's just AJ against Angle. Then they couldn't do a bad match. I mean, you had AJ who no, I may be wrong. At the time, was being coached by Ric Flair?
No, that was 2000.
That was later on.
That later on, sorry. But I mean, AJ, he had evolved his game because he was kind of flippy-dippy when he came in, when he was X Division, because he was the backflip onto ladders, and obviously Unbreakable was brilliant, but he did evolve his game and start getting more moves in and no pulling out his best things until the end, because he even said in an interview, people say, why don't you do that anymore? Why don't you do this anymore? He says, if I'd done it all, what would you have for the next match? So you've got a guy who can put in different things, and up the level, and you've got Angle, who is the most solid guy that TNA has ever had. That's how you kind of thought TNA is going to basically bring a world of hurt to WWE, because they've got Kurt Angle, somebody who, no matter who you put him in against, because I mean, if you look at that card, and you've seen obviously the previous winners, the tag match, you could have Angle against Cage, Angle against Booker, or Angle against Morgan, or you're going to have AJ against Cage, AJ against Booker, AJ against Morgan, or you've got Scott Hall, Nash, or Steiner. You've got a multiple ways that you could do this. Obviously, you get the one, and then you go, right, that person take on that person. So it's going to be exciting towards not even the end of the match, the start of the match.
10 seconds from each of you. Strak, final 10 seconds, sum up why TNA Burning Gold should win.
It should win because if you had to sit down with this match, you wouldn't leave. There's no toilet breaks in this, which people hate. It's a toilet break match. There's no toilet break matches in this. You would be on the edge of the seat from start to finish.
Scott McLeod, why should TNA Emergence win?
Because it's got a good mix of TNA talent and former WWE talent. It's bookended by solid gimmick matches, but it's not overly gimmicky. It's just a lot of the matches are straight up wrestling. It's just purely about the in-ring product there.
Oh, guys, I can't stress this enough. This could have been a tournament final. Both of you came to play with very impressive cards.
Why did you put us two in together first then?
You need to kick it off with a bang.
Your shirt, David. Your cheeks match your shirt right now. Look at you.
My mind's blowing just trying to make a decision.
You've basically put AJ and Angle against each other in the fucking King of Ring finals when you've got the rest of the Muppets.
I think I've laid it out how you were drawn to the main event, right? Yeah. I think I've expressed why that was. Here's my decision. My decision is that something in that final argument that really got to me was about freshness and newness. And the four-man cage match, I do feel actually constricts a lot of what those guys can do in confining them to the ring. And while I don't think it'd be a bad match by any manner of the means, I do think the Undisputed match has more scope to be one of those epic TNA matches that goes down in the annals of history. So I need to clarify, by the slightest of margins, I have to give the win here to TNA Burning Gold and Strak. Boom! So congratulations to Strak. Scott, so beyond close. How
us two should have been in the final, really. Us two should have been in the final. How
do you feel about that final result, Scott?
You know, it's really hard to really argue, when you're putting a main event, like an actual gimmick match versus a match that's never been number or something original. So yeah, I think it's really hard to compare the two. So
it's hard. When Scott was reading his card, I'm like, shit.
Strak, you got the win here. How tough was that? How good an opponent was Scott McLeod today? And final question, you will be facing the winner of Grant McRobbie and Stephen Wilson. Who do you want in the next round?
Scott McLeod. It's meh. I tell you what, I'll take Grant's my boy. We've got a couple of meme chats going, so do you know what, I'll take Wilson in the next. No, do what I want Grant to put out, but I'd like to just embarrass Wilson.
That's fair. That's fair. And Scott, I will say this to you. This is only the beginning of Book It, the first Book It tournament. I think the next time we do this, you will be back, and I don't think anyone's going to want to get you in the first round, but we need to see how far Strak can go in this thing, guys. That's the end of Book It for today. Don't forget the other stuff that you can find on this network. Don't forget that Scott hosts Saturday Draft Live and East Meets West, and when Strak wants to show up, he will in any other show. You know, he'll be there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I've got a child and a schedule.
I'm only kidding.
They can't all be unemployed students.
I'm only... Well, you'll definitely be back for the semi-finals anyway. You're through to the next round, guys. Without further ado, we wish you the best, and we'll see you next time on Book It.